For over 100 years, we all have loved superheroes and their perfect ideologies, resembling the possibility of human greatness presented to us in various different mediums. A perfect being containing in himself or herself the saintly attributes of love, sacrifice, service, resilience, and world peace, loaded with fantasy-driven supernatural powers or at least irrepressible willpower and emotions. Mental trauma, psychological disorders, and personal life problems are literally either non-existent or are just explored on the surface level in these characters' storyline. Stereotypically, such plots are chosen to be not deeply explored for various reasons. Even 100 years after the advent of various superheroes, these similar ideological themes are still present inside every character and their stories in one way or the other. And 100 years is a huge period, it's a complete freaking century of years, and people are literally bored of seeing the same tough ideological superhero and their typical conflict-driven plot. This genre truly is oversaturated with the same kind of plot structure repeated thousands of times. This is a big reason why shows like One Punch Man and its unconventional protagonist Saitama, having different yet more relatable superhero ideologies, equipped with superpowers but still conflicted with modern problems of depression, anxiety, and existential crisis, is getting liked by the masses. This type of fresh change in the 100-year-old plot structure with the help of unique character-driven plots is slowly getting the much-needed traction and paving a new branch in the genre. One Punch Man is a unique anime which on the surface is exceedingly ridiculous. So ridiculous that it becomes extremely hilarious and addicting once you start watching this show. But if you try to understand it on a deeper level, it tries to teach us a lot about our modern day society. In a parodical way, it perfectly catches the subtle, untouched and undiscussed societal problems with the help of its lead character Saitama, the One Punch Man. A peculiar, bald and slender character who has godlike powers in himself. And as always, to understand this strange character, we must decode and comprehend his psychology, motives, objectives, and character development to extract and acknowledge the deep philosophies of the One Punch Man anime. But when you try to study the backstory of this character, you will find nothing unusual about his past life. He has always been an average person in every phase of his life, just like all of us. Even during narrating his story in the first episode about when all his godlike powers came into existence, the author just goes 3 years back in his life. Saitama, who had hair on his head back then, is somewhat depressed by getting rejected once again in an interview, just like the most of us. He faces a minor antagonist, Crablante, who became a humanoid crab by eating too many crabs. Sounds ridiculous, right? But this ridiculousness, which is scattered throughout the plot of One Punch Man, is not the main essence of the show. It is a tool to make the story a parody by its genius author, as parody is one of the best instruments for the propagation of serious themes. The main catch of the plot is the character of Saitama and his ideologies, who carries those serious themes alongside the parody. Coming back to the story of Saitama, when Crablante listens to the conversation of our protagonist and looks at him, he instantly recognizes those lifeless and depressed eyes and decides not to kill him, saying that he himself had those same lifeless eyes once. This interaction shows us how normal boredom and depression have become in today's modern society. That even a hero and a villain are relating to the same problem and settling at a common ground. Crablante even points out that he used to eat a lot of crabs before turning into one. This shows the possibility that Crablante was stress eating, which is a symptom of depression. This is one of the many other examples of how the show uses subtle references from modern societal problems mixed with ridiculous comedy and characters. In this small scene, we are introduced a little about our character Saitama, that he was just an average depressed struggling man of the society before becoming invincible. Further into the episode, we see that Saitama saves the bald-chinned kid from Crablante by risking his own life on the line, as he was just a normal human at that point of time. This shows that Saitama in actuality is a good person ready to help others even with his life, a rare character trait which is the basis of a superhero ideology. But since this show is objectively a parody on the superhero ideology, the author makes sure that not much emphasis is given to these noble principles and beliefs of Saitama, at least in the beginning of the show. Rather, the show emphasizes more towards the flawed and realistic human emotions that Saitama expresses throughout the storyline. The author, right from the very first episode of the anime, deliberately stops the audience from believing that Saitama wanted to become a superhero because of his kind-hearted helping attitude. Rather, he makes the audience believe that Saitama became a superhero just for for fun, thereby completely separating this character from the other ideal superhero characters. This reason of being a superhero just for fun feels much more realistic than being a superhero for a greater divine cause, as it is shown in the other superhero stories. The realism of emotions and its relatability with the modern people of modern society is portrayed perfectly through Saitama. Once Saitama saves the ball-chinned kid by killing Crablante, we can see once again life exploding like a fire inside the eyes of Saitama. After leading an average, uninteresting and depressing life for a very long time, Saitama finally finds a strong purpose in his life, the purpose of becoming a superhero. You can literally feel the change in his psychology at this point in time, a purpose so powerful, compelling and influential that he dedicates the next 3 years of his life training like hell, doing 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 squats and a 10-kilometer run every single day. He even stops using his air conditioner no matter how hot the weather gets to build an immense mental resilience. He trains so hard that he even loses all the hairs on his head and goes completely bald. And slowly and steadily Saitama starts to gain the invincible power, and after 3 years he becomes the mighty One Punch Man, the most destructive force in the entire universe who can literally kill anyone with just one punch. Saitama finally becomes the superhero he always wanted to be, well, at least for the last 3 years of his life. And not just a superhero, but the strongest superhero in the entire universe, unmatched, unparalleled, invincible like a god. Generally he should be happy with what he has achieved, but then existential crisis and boredom hits his life. The fire of that life that once lit up his existence and made him push forward is once again extinguished, completely disappeared with no traces to be found. Saitama once again becomes that same depressed man. He comes back to square one. He lives alone in a small apartment located in an abandoned city with no residents and flooded only by monsters. Apart from being extremely bored, depressed and suffering from existential crisis due to lack of thrill and challenge in his life, he is also unemployed and an introvert. He has no social life, no friends nor any hobbies. The realization of the fact that he is now the invincible has taken an even bigger toll on his mental health than ever before. He now only craves for a formidable and competitive opponent who can really challenge him and help him to have a thrilling battle and therefore an exciting life worth living. This is confirmed in a dream sequence where he fights the subterranean monsters and their king, and same life exploding fire is once again filled inside him after seeing such strong opponents. But unfortunately it was just a dream. Though the show covers this part of Saitama's life with parodies and comedy, it is actually pretty sad and painful if looked through his perspective. This phase of his life also resonates a lot with an average person of our modern society, as the structure of Saitama's story is pretty much similar to that of a stereotypical white-collar worker, a professional who has worked hard, studied and developed skills for almost 20 years of his or her life to get that one job they had always dreamt of. They have started working in their beautiful offices, earning money, driving their cell-phone cars, living in a beautiful house with their family, etc. Everything seems to be perfect and peaceful. But soon this mundane life of eat, work, sleep and repeat starts to unsettle their very consciousness every single day. Life gradually starts to seem boring and monotonous. The special feeling of excitement and thrill that they used to get during their school and college days upon thinking about the future no longer exists now. There are no conflicts and challenges, no scope of self-improvement or a sense of moving forward in the journey of life. Bouts of severe boredom and existential crisis seep inside their minds. There is a reason why even in the developed countries where people have a good job, great lifestyle, excellent medical infrastructure and all the necessary amenities at their disposal, the rates of depression are still the highest in the world. Conflict is the beginning of consciousness. These words were quoted by the famous psychoanalyst Mary Esther Harding. The curious nature of human beings and their psychological affinity to coexist with conflicts and challenges and their passion towards overcoming those hurdles used to work as a medium to keep ourselves motivated and moving forward for generations. This mindset has mostly been eradicated in today's modern society, at least in the working class community. This loss of conflict and thereby loss of purpose in life, making it uninteresting, is what hits the mental health of general people and that of Saitama in the case of his invincibility. The psychological similarity and parallelism of Saitama with that of a huge section of society is what makes this character incredibly unique and relatable, making him likable for both critical and non-critical masses. But apart from relatability, Saitama also has qualities which are very rare and unique in the modern world. He is not a 100% 100% relatable character, nor is he a complete ideal character, as we have discussed already. He falls somewhere in between both the limits of the spectrum. His personality somewhat skews with a blend of both the extremities. And since we have discussed his relatable psychology in detail, similarly we must also address the ideal psychology he bears in himself. And there are two very powerful ideal character traits that Saitama naturally owns. The first one of them is the noble mindset of sacrificing himself for the sake of saving the life of others. The evidence of this point is the incident in the first episode where Saitama saves the bald-chinned kid from Crablante by risking his own life without a second thought. The second ideal characteristic he has is his disregard towards fame and appreciation. This is evident when Saitama defeats the deep-seeking monster with just one punch, and since people could not comprehend such an easy and abrupt victory of someone like Saitama over the demon-level threat-seeking monster, they start to call Saitama a fraud and a trickster. To everyone's surprise, Saitama gives all the credit to the heroes who fought the seeking monster before his arrival and say that it was these heroes who exhausted and weakened the seeking which helped him to obliterate the monster in just one punch. This statement did not just endanger Saitama's career in the Hero Association but also solidified him as a potential fraud in the eyes of the citizens. These two ideals of nobility and selflessness are incredibly special and rare virtues in the real world and are far from any kind of relatability. These qualities of Saitama mixed with his flawed psychological character also points out about him that though he is naive and emotionally immature to be called a perfect superhero, he still has that hidden potential in himself to become the ultimate hero and the perfect savior of the world. During his conversation with the S-class hero King in Season 2, we can see that Saitama gets intrigued by King's words about himself and starts to gain clarity over his current mindset and the possibility for himself to be able to improve. King says to Saitama that he has mistaken himself into thinking that he has achieved his destination by becoming the strongest in the world. Seeking satisfaction from fighting is fundamentally wrong, and the identity of himself that he has created inside his mind that he cannot grow further is just shallow and arrogant on his behalf. Instead of being bored and dead inside, he should try to find his true potential, raise his moral standards for providing greater benefit to the society, and find the answer to the question in his journey that what does it mean to be a perfect hero after all. His journey has just begun and there is a long road for him to walk before he becomes that ultimate hero. This conversation, his new friendship and bonding with Genos and King, and his new social life in the Hero Association also tries to convey that Saitama might be on the path for a greater good ahead in the plot of the show. He may overcome the blinding fog inside his mind and unlock his true potential to become the ultimate hero and savior of humanity. Or maybe he could prevail over his dissatisfaction in life and happily accept himself the way he is currently. He is a unique and flexible character with endless possibilities, a character with incredible duality in himself, making him not just a mere memorable fictional persona for the audience, but also a definition of true superhero for the modern world. I hope you all liked this analysis of the character of Saitama. I just wanted to notify my audience that I am starting this new series on the channel of understanding various characters from the world of movies, anime and series, because I personally believe that there are so many interesting characters out there who are not fully and deeply understood by most of their audience. I hope I can provide that understanding to the audience with my upcoming videos. So if you want more such deep character analysis videos on this channel, do subscribe to the channel so that you do not miss the upcoming character analysis videos, and a like to this video will greatly help this channel to reach other audiences as well. Thank you so much for watching the video till the end.